further ado, a man who really needs no introduction, I call on our great county executive, Mark Poloncarz.
I was not elected Pope. Please be seated. Well, first off, thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate everyone's attendance, and to see so many people from the various fields of Erie County and Western New York, it is a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start by thanking our federal, state, and county officials and other leaders from the city, town, and village level for being here tonight and also for your service to the community. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our Director of Veterans Affairs, Major Carlos Benitez, as well as Legislator Tim Hoags for their assistance in words here tonight. And of course, I want to thank Leslie Zemski and the entire family from the Albright Knox Art Gallery, the Board of Directors, as well as Interim Director Karen Spalding, and the surprise I did not know that we would have here today, Yanni Seren, the new incoming director, I should say, who I'm looking forward to having a tremendous relationship in the future. It was my pleasure to work with and call Louis Grouchos a friend and with regards to county government and the community, and I certainly look forward to working with you in the future. So, pleasure to be here with you. The Albright Knox Art Gallery is just one example of the abundance of riches we have here in Erie County, including nationally renowned museums, an amazing Philharmonic orchestra, landmarks from architectural giants, and a thriving theater scene other cities would love to have. That's just arts and culture. Listen to some of the accolades. This is what others across the country and world are saying about our region. Among the most affordable major U.S. housing markets, a top innovation metro and destination for international visitors, in the top 10 cities for working mothers, and of course, one of the best places to be in America and to live. And why is that? Because our local forefathers made the right choices, like investing in our community's assets, not just for the day, but also for the future. And that's why I ran for county executive, because I did not think the right choices were being made for our community. I believe we all deserved better. In 2011, the people were presented a clear choice of what county government can do and what our community can be. The people spoke, and they said that county government is not automatically the problem, but can be part of the solutions. That county government should seek to provide programs and services that its residents demand as efficiently and effectively as possible. And in even difficult fiscal times, county government must make smart, targeted investments across our community, which will pay big dividends in the future, rather than let our community crumble to disrepair. Today, I'd like to talk about the choices we've made based on that set of shared values, from changing the tone of county government, to forging new partnerships, to fostering real economic growth for the greater community, not just a select few. While there are many challenges to meet, the opportunities that exist going forward are plentiful, should we have the political will to make the right choices, though hard, over the wrong ones, however easy they may seem at the time. One of the first choices we made was to change the tone of county government. We did this by acknowledging that government is not a business and should not be run like one. There are simply things that the private sector either can't or won't do. That's precisely why government is here, to take on those tasks for the good of the community, even when it may not necessarily make the most business sense to do so. We unite to care for the penniless and provide a safety net for those who have fallen, maintain common amenities such as parks and libraries, and create and maintain a safe infrastructure with broad benefit for all. In government, we represent people, not just taxpayers. County government serves an important role, and I will continue to work to return it to its core mission: administer vital health, human, and public safety services, while also providing the quality of life programs residents demand as efficiently as possible. This requires balancing the needed and wanted services against having the necessary resources to pay for them. Unfortunately, as we've all heard over the years, 90% of our budget is attributed to state and federal mandates, program services, and other requirements that we have little or no control over. But what we can do is control how we go about dealing with them. And my administration has chosen to take a different path than in the past. We've changed the tone by choosing to work cooperatively with our partners in government. For example, instead of continually fighting with the U.S. Department of Justice and the New York Commission of Corrections over the various mandates they forced upon us regarding conditions at the holding center and jail, we chose a different path. My administration and the sheriff decided to treat them as partners, working together to make our jail safe for inmates and officers. And because we have chosen to take this new road, tremendous progress has been made and will continue to be made, something quite evident by the lack of discussion of the jails, as you've seen in the last year compared to before. Another example would be the previously contentious relationship with the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority since it was created in 2005. When I took office as county executive, I believed this needed to change. The constant fighting did not help the county, and while we may not always agree, we turned the relationship from combative to cooperative. We have and will continue to work closely with the Control Board for the betterment of Erie County, with the ultimate goal of their services no longer being necessary. I'd like to ask Chairman Jim Sampson and his fellow directors to stand up so that we may thank them for their leadership and for their assistance to the people of Erie County. Thank you very much for all that you've done. In the past, we also had a similarly contentious relationship with ECMC, especially considering the county's required subsidy payments. However, the days of the numerous lawsuits are over. I have worked cooperatively with ECMC, its board of directors, and especially its CEO, Jody LeMayo, to help the county manage these payments, mitigating any negative budgetary impacts to both the county and the hospital, without depriving the hospital of vital revenues so it can provide the best care possible, and we will do that continually in the future. I want to thank Jody. I want to thank the members of the board of directors of ECMC for all their cooperative work that they've done over the past year, and I continue to look forward working with you in the future. Thank you very much. As I mentioned a moment ago, 90% of our budget is outside of our control, while the other 10% is made up of the discretionary services that our community values and truthfully wants. These are the programs and services that, as a candidate, I heard so much about. The Road and Control Program, Operation Prime Time, which is a summer youth education and anti-crime program, and road, bridge construction, among others. And while these programs are not mandated by law, I believe they are mandated by the people of Erie County. I promise to ensure that these people's mandates were funded, and over the past year, I have lived up to that promise. Now, the people's mandates also include quality of life investments like our parks and our cultural assets, purchasing maintenance equipment and restoring walkways. Additionally, at Bennett Beach, we finally tore down that wall, a remnant of an old bathhouse that had become dangerous and, as you see, a target for vandalism. We were told it would never get done, but we rolled up our sleeves, cut through the red tape, and now it's gone. I want to thank Commissioner Schinzel for all the work that you've done on behalf of the parks to get that completed. Trust me, it was not an easy thing to do. Thank you. And a bit further north, we dealt with another eyesore, turning the old Ontario Street boat launch into the new environmentally friendly Black Rock Canal Park. And while many individuals played a role in making it happen, one organization, the Black Rock Canal Park Steering Committee, and its leader, Margaret Sapaniak, are the ones who deserve the credit for this new park. Margaret and her group are a perfect example of what I call citizen advocates. They could have stopped advocating for the park the first time they heard no, or for that matter, the 21st time they heard no, but they didn't. As a result, a gem is being polished on the Niagara River, which, when completed, will be enjoyed for generations to come. Margaret, I ask you to please stand up so we may thank you for your persistence and advocacy on behalf of the community, something we will now be able to enjoy for decades. Thank you very much. Now, when it comes to our people's mandates, one of the most important one, of course, is our arts and cultural community. We are also investing in our cultural assets regardless of size. I believe investment in our arts and cultural assets should be no more optional than funding our parks, roads, and bridges. Each one of these is an integral part of the infrastructure of our community. Some are steel and concrete, while others are body and mind. The resident doesn't need to use every arts or cultural institution any more than they need to use every road or bridge or park supported by their tax dollars to derive a benefit from them thriving. Not only did we restore funding, but we also restored a transparent and open process, the Erie County Arts and Cultural Advisory Board. This board, led by Catherine Schweitzer, with representatives from the cultural, financial, legal, and other communities, has been tasked with scrutinizing every application so we may make decisions on who is worthy of public dollars based on need and merit alone. I want to thank all of the board members, some of whom are in attendance today, for all the great work they've done in the past year, and I know the work that they will be doing in the future. Thank you for your volunteer efforts on behalf of the people of Erie County. Another way we have changed the tone of county government and strengthened our community is by ensuring a solid and healthy county library system. I believed it was important to restore the library's funding to the level before recent cuts and moved all of its funding to a dedicated property tax levy. In doing so, it guaranteed the library's funding without jumping through all the political hoops of the past. As a result, the professional librarians can do what they do best, provide a great library experience for all of our residents. I'm pleased to be joined by Mary Jean Jakubowski from the library. On behalf of the people of Erie County, thank you for all that the library and the librarians are doing for us here. Thank you. Now, I think you would all agree, another regional asset, very important to our economy and critical to the fabric and collective identity of our community, is the Buffalo Bills. That's why from day one of my administration, we worked tirelessly to negotiate a new long-term stadium lease with the Bills, and I was proud to announce the new 10-year deal this past December. It's a fair deal for state and local taxpayers, one reached because all parties involved were willing to compromise. Moreover, it's a deal that will keep the team here in Buffalo today, tomorrow, and also for years to come by preparing for the possibility of a new stadium. I want to thank my county team for all the work that they've done. Governor Andrew Cuomo, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy and their team, and the entire Bills organization, starting with owner Mr. Wilson and President and CEO Russ Brandon, for their commitment to this region not only for today, but for the future. Please join me in applauding everyone's efforts. Another choice we made was to change the tone of county government internally. While some people believe county government is part of the problem and treat the county workforce as an enemy, I believe our dedicated and hardworking civil servants are actually assets. Unfortunately, it seems the only time that you hear about county government is when something goes wrong. But in reality, every day, our county workforce is making a difference in our community, and often they go above and beyond the normal call of duty without very little recognition. For example, I'd like to take a moment and tell you about an employee that embodies that effort. Last summer, Child Protective Services was made aware of a 17-month-old child that had been brought to the ER with a broken arm, the second in a very short period of time. Now, CPS followed standard protocol and sent an employee down to the hospital to interview the family and the staff, and was provided with a seemingly plausible explanation from both that the injury was a result of an accidental fall. The next day, the case was assigned to Shadia Rodriguez, a sex abuse serious injury team worker, for continued investigation. While it would not have been unusual under state rules for Shadia to forego immediate face-to-face contact with the family, she felt uneasy and chose to visit immediately. Upon arrival, Shadia observed the child to have new injuries and called 911 to have the child immediately returned to the ER, where it was discovered that those injuries were serious, including a lacerated liver and life-threatening. The child was admitted to the ICU and eventually required surgery. Now, Shadia would have been completely within the norm to have foregone immediate contact, but instead she chose to go above and beyond the norm. As a result, that child is alive today. Shadia, on behalf of myself and all of Erie County residents, please stand up so we may thank you for taking that extra effort, saving that child's life, and representing the great work of our entire dedicated workforce. In addition to changing the tone of county government, I believe I was elected to maintain fiscal discipline and apply the skills I used as your comptroller. And while it is clear that we've made tremendous progress since the days of the Red Green fiscal crisis, we still have work to do. The fact is, the county's financial outlook wasn't quite as rosy as we were constantly told. We had serious issues in 2012 to address, including unfunded or underfunded ongoing construction projects, dozens of open lawsuits that had been delayed for years, lapses in nearly every single employee labor contract, and many, many others. But despite these challenges, we expect to end 2012 with a modest but important surplus of $4.7 million. We were able to achieve this through smart spending, sound fiscal management, and even implementing a few good ideas I had as comptroller. For example, as comptroller, I issued a report examining Erie County's Medicaid anti-fraud procedures and found that while the county actively worked to prevent the waste, fraud, and abuse of Medicaid by recipients, we did almost nothing when it came to Medicaid providers. The Government Accountability Office believes that 10 to 15% of the program, the entire Medicaid program, can be lost to spending attributable to waste, fraud, and abuse. That means for years, while we've been focusing on the pennies, dollars have been walking out the door. Federal, state, and county governments spend combined approximately $1 billion a year on Medicaid in Erie County, with our local share making up $219 million. Folks, just do the math. That means we're losing on average per year $100 to $150 million in Medicaid program to waste, fraud, and abuse, with $25 million of that coming from the local share of Erie County taxpayers. I promised to take action if elected, and I have. Through a partnership with New York State, we've created the Office of Erie County Medicaid Inspector General, which has the sole purpose of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid, primarily on the provider level. And we were able to do it with zero county cost. The office has already completed 4 audits that we believe have included significant findings against providers. Under the rules that we've entered into with the New York State, we have to provide those findings to New York State, and we have done that. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot more about this unit in the years to come and the savings that they will be derived from as a result of their hard work. Now, after Medicaid, the next largest item putting a squeeze on our budget is healthcare costs that truthfully are rising at an unsustainable rate. As I noted earlier, we've chosen to treat our county workforce with the respect they deserve. And part of that is realizing that 8 of the 9 labor unions within Erie County having lapsed contracts is a significant problem and a financial risk for the county. A priority has been, and since day one, has been to come to the table to work to negotiate new contracts that are both fair to employees and our taxpayers. Now recently, we successfully ratified new contracts with the 2 unions representing our county jail facilities. In exchange for modest cost of living adjustments, employees have agreed to pay a percentage of their health care costs, both while working and after retirement, when previously they enjoyed 100% funded health care. As a result, the county will save tens of millions of dollars in health care costs in the long run. This is the type of deal that we need to have going forward. I commend the members of the Teamsters and the CSEA correctional units for working with my administration to make reasonable compromises that both sides can live with for the employees and for the people of the community. Thank you for doing so. After being elected, I reminded my staff that even though we came off of a long and difficult campaign, the hard part was just beginning. Governing. Governing is about choices. We must choose not only as an administration, but as a community, what we want out of our county government and what we are willing to do to achieve those goals. My 2013 budget proposal was filled with such choices, some more difficult than others. But all of them represented my beliefs in the values and the role that I, as well as the people of this community, believe county government should play. In 2011, I heard the message loud and clear. The people's mandates are just as important as those passed down by state and federal government. The public expects to get something out of their tax dollars, and I agree. No one wants to propose or vote for a property tax increase, but it was an option of last resort. It was the only responsible way to ensure a balanced budget without sacrificing the programs and services the community values. Now, several legislators stated that it was their priority to avoid a property tax at all costs. I attempted to compromise, but it seemed like every time I did so, I was met with resistance or other demands that just could not be achieved. I'm not so certain at the time that a compromise was wanted by all. Instead, they chose to make cuts on paper that eliminated the tax increase but did nothing to reduce our actual expenses. In essence, they kept all the costs while cutting the revenue we needed to pay for them. You can't have it both ways. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's look at what the Independent Control Board said recently. As part of the Control Board's legislation, we're required to submit our proposed budget as well as the four-year plan. And if there are any revisions to it, that as well. Last month, we submitted our revised plan, and I thank the Control Board because it was approved by them. Yet, in approving the plan, the board confirmed millions of dollars of budget gaps exist, not only in this year, but beyond, gaps which did not exist in my proposed budget and four-year plan from last October. The board called on county leaders to work together to fix these holes. I echo their sentiment and declare my willingness to foster such cooperation. I've already laid a number of alternatives on the table, none of which are the politically easy thing to do. Some of my colleagues in county government have called these budget alternatives threats. These aren't threats, it's just basic math. The numbers don't lie. We have structural budget holes and they must be closed. If there's no political willingness by county legislators to raise revenue and by independently elected officials to reduce costs and live within their budgets, then there is no other option. Meaningful and substantial cuts to discretionary spending must be done. I have no interest in seeing that result come to fruition. But what can't be an option is to continue to ignore the issue or pass another structurally unbalanced budget. That's what happened in the years leading up to the red-green fiscal crisis. The people of our community deserve better than a reprise of that time. Folks, compromise is not a dirty word, but it can only be achieved if all sides are willing to give a little for the greater good. This will be a challenge, no doubt, but it will not prevent us from moving forward, building upon the foundation of our successes over the past year. We're going to find new and creative ways to make county government more effective and more efficient in delivering the quality of services that the residents of this community demand. Let me give you an example of an initiative we will be moving forth with this year for the betterment of our residents' health. At the same time that Chemung County Executive Tom Santulli was opening a new priority community health care center in his county and saving his county taxpayers $2 million in the first year alone, clinics were being closed here in Erie County. These clinics were a cost-effective way to provide desperately needed primary care to an underserved portion of the community. And while as controller there was nothing I could really do about these clinics being closed, I am proud to announce later this year we will be opening a new primary, dental, and mental health clinic located at the former Matt Gajewski Center on Buffalo's east side. Erie County's residents whose only option may have been to visit a costly ER will now have access to a one-stop shop for quality and affordable health care, the Erie County Medical Mall. The investment we make today on this clinic will pay big dividends for the county future by improving the community's health care while also reducing long-term costs. This is a huge undertaking, and that's why we're not doing it alone. It's all thanks to the incredible work and effort by my health commissioner, Dr. Gail Burstein, and the collaborative spirit shown by our respective partners, Catholic Health Services President Joe McDonald, UB Dental School Dean Michael Glick, and Lakeshore Behavior and Mental Health's Dr. Howard Hitzel. I'd ask each of you to please stand up and be recognized for your role in helping not only reduce this burden of health care in an underserved portion of our population, but also changing and saving people's lives. Thank you very much. Now, we've also chosen to take advantage of creative solution to a problem that has plagued our community for decades, our incredibly high number of vacant, abandoned, or dilapidated properties. This blight caused by these properties reduces our quality of life, makes neighborhoods more dangerous, and robs the county and municipalities of tens of millions of dollars in valuable tax resources. And it just does not impact the city of Buffalo. It's a problem in each of our cities, our suburbs, and our rural village centers. A countywide problem calls for a countywide solution. And that solution was the creation of one of New York State's first land banks. This land bank is transforming the way vacant and abandoned properties are dealt with by creating a coordinated structure to return the properties to productive use. Instead of squabbling over turf, we've come together to get vacant properties back on the tax rolls. This is a fiscally responsible solution that not only stabilizes neighborhoods, but also generates revenue for the county and all the underlying municipalities. This was only possible because of the incredible display of cooperation rarely seen in our community, one that included all of our 44 municipalities, and only possible because of the tireless work of my Commissioner of Environment and Planning, Maria White, strong leadership by our mayors of Buffalo, Lackawanna, and Tonawanda, Byron Brown, Jeff Szymanski, and Ron Pelosi, respectively, Cheektowaga Supervisor Mary Holtz, Brant Supervisor Len Pirro, Angola Mayor Hub Frawley, as well as our friends from LISC and the Western New York Law Center. I'd like to ask you all to stand so we can thank you for the collaborative efforts to address a costly problem that has been crippling our neighborhoods and destabilizing our finances for far too long. Please stand up so that we may thank you. I look forward to the exciting work that we're going to be doing together as a group for the future of this community. So thank you for all your hard work. Now, we've talked about the choices we've made in the past. Let's talk about some of our plans for the future. The stars seem to be aligning for Buffalo and Western New York. We are overflowing with positive opportunities. Sound leadership in Albany has yielded exciting change, on-time balanced budgets, the formation of the Regional Economic Development Councils, and Governor Andrew Cuomo's commitment of $1 billion to revive the region's long stagnant economy. Downtown Buffalo is in the midst of a building boom, and neighborhood leaders throughout our community are successfully reviving local commercial corridors and rigorously promoting the important advantages of supporting local businesses. The good news, however, cannot mask the problems that we face. The recent census numbers relating to our community's population loss, poverty, and inequality are very alarming. To fix this, it is clear that we cannot continue to rely on our failed economic development plans and policies of the past. That's why I promised one of the top priorities in my administration will be to focus on economic development and job growth. We have, and leading that charge has been my Deputy County Executive, Rich Tobey. Rich, thank you for all the work that you've done over the past year. Now, Rich and I and others have worked very hard to address the challenges we face, but also to take advantage of the opportunities presented to truly change the future of our community. And later this spring, we will be releasing my administration's economic development agenda entitled Initiatives for a Smart Economy. This plan will bring together into one document a compendium of the work that we've already completed, along with new and achievable initiatives that Erie County will undertake. Some will be in support of the Western New York Regional Economic Development Council's key economic proposals, while others will find Erie County at the lead. Major parts of this economic development plan include making targeted and strategic public subsidies to appropriate projects, focusing on a blue economy to leverage our geographic location and natural-based water resources, a commitment to smart growth and sustainability through thoughtful land use planning, ensuring brownfield redevelopment and protecting our farmlands, as well as making conscientious investments in our infrastructure, our workforce, and the other areas that are important to our quality of life. Now, while you're going to be hearing a lot more about this plan in the upcoming months, I'd like to highlight a few of the key initiatives that we've already started working on. Chief among them is reforming a dysfunctional IDA system that is not doing enough to grow our regional economy. We must focus our scarce public resources on economic development efforts that produce real, lasting jobs for our citizens and increased wealth for the entire community. For too long, taxpayer subsidies were given to companies that do not produce new economic activity for our community and many times are prohibited by the IDA's own policies. These are bad investments for everyone, including other businesses, that often result in a new government-supplied competitive advantage. This is the worst form of government intrusion into the private marketplace. Government should not be picking winners or losers. sometimes right across the street from another. Now, I've taken some heat from my stance on this subject. Not surprisingly, there are entrenched interests who feel they are entitled to tax breaks, and they are now calling me anti-business for questioning the status quo. Well, to that, I say I am not anti-business. I'm pro-taxpayer, and I'm pro-real economic growth for all. I believe a company should justify with hard figures how a government subsidy will yield a positive return to the greater community, not just a few. And I will never apologize for asking these hard questions and demanding sound answers on behalf of the people of Erie County. I'm not calling for new rules to be implemented, just that the IDAs, including the Erie County Industrial Development Agency, follow the rules that already exist. I don't believe it's too much to ask, especially when we see millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, of new private sector investment going on right now in our community. Now, we're not there yet. We are making tremendous strides to fix a flawed process, but we've got more work to do. But in the end, I believe by doing so, we will create a better community for the future. Now, in addition to focusing on our IDA system, our economic development plan will also place an emphasis on workforce development, with the potential for new facilities and increased coordination, among agencies, including the Erie Community College and the Department of Social Services. Despite the conventional wisdom out there, we do have jobs in Erie County, but often they go unfulfilled as employers cannot find local candidates with the proper training. The problem stems from the disconnect that exists between the jobs that are available and the training provided to prospective employees. Over the course of the past year, I hosted a series of workforce development summits along with the Buffalo Niagara Partnership. These were not job fairs, but high-level discussions between job trainers, governmental officials, and employers in an attempt to drill down to the root of the problem. We learned that better communication and coordination is needed among employers, training providers, and the educational system. And we will work together as a region to improve the training programs offered to job seekers. We now know what the problem is. We have the resources at our disposal to fix it. And working with the Regional Economic Development Council, this plan will be a tool to begin fixing it. I want to thank Erie Community College President Jack Quinn and the Buffalo Niagara Partnership representatives that are here for being such strong partners in addressing our community's workforce development needs, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you. Now, make no mistake, we need to create new jobs in addition to just filling the ones that go vacant. And I believe we can do it with innovative ideas and capitalizing on our strengths. That's why I've talked about leveraging our strategic location on the border with Canada to seize opportunities created by international trade. Canada is our nation's #1 trading partner, and we sit only 90 miles away from its economic hub of Toronto. But when it came to the relationship that we had with Toronto, we might as well have been 9,000 miles away. They came to our Bills games and our Sabres games. They went skiing at Ellicottville, and they went to the Galleria Mall to shop. But they did not think of Erie County in Western New York as a place for business investment. Well, that stopped last year, because working with our partners at the Buffalo Niagara Enterprise and World Trade Center Buffalo Niagara, we have already held high-level meetings on both sides of the border to discuss coordinated economic development initiatives. And we are starting to reap the bounty of the seeds we've planted. For example, last year, Outfront Portable Solutions, a Canadian company, invested $2.5 million in its new Buffalo operations that it had just purchased. Outfront wanted to set up operations in the United States so that it could market its products as being made in America. They needed help, and they were looking at other places as well. They turned to the Buffalo Niagara Enterprise, and by working with the county and the ECIDA, we were able to make this a reality. As part of our plan, we will make Erie County a destination for Canadian companies looking to expand into the United States and a primary location along the United States-Canadian border for the distribution of domestic and international goods. And this is just the start. I want to close by giving you a real example of what we can accomplish and how we can forever alter the fate of our community by making county government part of the solution by forging strong partnerships among the various levels of government and our friends in the private sector, and by seizing the opportunity to make the best use of our limited resources for a long-term impact. Growing up in Lackawanna, and as many people know, the son of a steelworker, I know exactly what Bethlehem Steel's closing meant. Our collective spirit was deflated, and pretty much everyone in the community said, "What now?" It's taken almost 30 years to answer that question, but today we have an answer. It's returning manufacturing and industry back to Lackawanna and back to the former Bethlehem Steel site. Today, construction is already taking place and scheduled to be completed later this year for Canadian-based Welded Tubes American operations on approximately 45 acres of the site. Welded Tube is investing $40 million and will employ approximately $50 million in the beginning and potentially up to 125 workers after 2 years, and it's specialty tube and steel making plant. They could have gone anywhere, and believe me, they looked. But in the end, they chose Erie County because of all the reasons we talked about. Now, this did not happen overnight. It has been the culmination of more than 12 years of work, starting with brownfield remediation beginning in 2000. And there have been lots and lots of hurdles that could have stopped the project since then. It required many meetings for almost a year with sometimes countless levels of people in a room from all levels of government, Erie County, the city of Lackawanna, public benefit corporations from ECIDA to the Power Authority to the Water Authority and the Empire State Development, our private sector partners like landowners, Tecumseh, Gateway, and the South Buffalo Railway, from Welded Tube, a lot of help from organizations like the Buffalo Niagara Enterprise and the Partnership, and about 5 layers of lawyers in between. Now, Welded Tube is just the beginning. Work is being done to open up an additional 400 acres of heavy industrial zone land for redevelopment, something that not many communities across this country can boast of. Already, land that had no assessed value, 0, has been reassessed at Welded Tube's assessed rate, $18,000 an acre. So virtually overnight, this will bring in millions of dollars in new property tax revenue to the county and the city of Lackawanna. Additionally, the Bethlehem Steel site will no longer be the example of Erie County's past, but what our future can be when we all work together. An example of how we can transform a desolate brownfield into one of the largest and most attractive shovel-ready development sites in the Northeast. I thank Welded Tube, represented here today by Joel Shapiro, for their new commitment to our county, and all the elected officials and partners who were involved in this process for their persistence in pushing this project forward. I want to thank you all and ask you all to stand. It was a long effort, but it was well worth it. Thank you very much on behalf of Today, we talked about the choices we've made to change the tone of county government, where partnerships are fostered, the people's mandates are funded, and county's workforce is valued. We've also talked about fiscal discipline, implementing creative ideas for taxpayer savings, and making difficult choices about revenues and expenses, and what we hope to accomplish going forward and what is required to get there. The goals and aspirations of my administration will never become reality if the choice of the community is to cut government so much we cut it out of existence. The Welded Tube project would not have happened. It would not have happened without a multi-million-dollar commitment from Erie County to address the lack of infrastructure on the old Bethlehem Steel site. We talk so much about needing private investment in our community, but no outside business is going to choose to invest here if they believe we're unwilling to invest in our own community's assets. This is the perfect example of the kind of business development that our industrial development agencies should be working on. Now, lack of revenue for future years puts at risk not only our libraries, health and welfare programs, and the arts, but the safety of our roads and bridges and our ability to properly fund economic development opportunities as they arise. We cannot let these and other challenges dictate our future. We need the political will to stop taking the easy way out and start making the hard decisions to move our community forward. Looking back, I believe the difference between success and failure in the past year has been partnership. When we work together, there is nothing we can accomplish. We must cast aside the same old political blame games and partisan brinkmanship that plagues Washington. Instead, set an example for them to follow, to show that we're not just Democrats, Republicans, and independents, or 44 municipalities out there on their own. We are one Erie County, and we are working together to make this community everything we believe it can be and will be. I know the direction I wish to head, and today I'm asking each and every one of you to be my partners in getting there. Thank you, folks.